Commander Nix Ra stood at the observation deck of the Galactic Security Academy, his forearms crossed in what his species considered a gesture of supreme annoyance. The iridescent scales along his neck were flickering between shades of purple and green, a clear sign of stress that any member of the Serpentian race would recognize from 3 sectors away. "You want me to what?" he asked, his tail twitching in a way that made the junior officer before him take 2 cautious steps backward. Lieutenant Pax, a blob-like gelatinous being from the Andromeda arm, rippled nervously. "Sir, the Council has approved the integration of Deathworlders into the Advanced Stealth Operations Training Program." Nix Ra's scales settled on a particularly violent shade of purple. "The same Deathworlders who consider explosions a valid form of greeting? The ones who invented something called parkour just because regular walking was too boring?" "Yes, sir, those Deathworlders. Humans, specifically." Pax's gelatinous form quivered. "They're arriving in 10 minutes. 10 minutes by the void's empty hearts." Nix Ra's tail knocked over a decorative plant. "The operation simulation is running right now. We have 50 of our best stealth operatives in there conducting a year-long exercise." "Should we postpone?" Pax suggested hopefully. "We can't. The quantum temporal field maintaining the time dilation is locked in. They're experiencing 1 year while we experience 1 day. Breaking it now would cause a temporal backlash that would turn this entire wing of the Academy into abstract art." A cheerful chime echoed through the observation deck. "Attention! Human recruits have arrived ahead of schedule. They are currently being processed through decontamination." Nix Ra's scales shifted to white, the color of resignation. "How many?" "3, sir." "Only 3? Well, maybe this won't be so." "They're requesting to join the ongoing simulation. They say, and I quote, 'It looks fun.'" Nix Ra slithered to the nearest wall and gently banged his head against it. "Fun. They think our most advanced stealth training program, designed to create the galaxy's elite covert operatives, looks fun." The door whispered open, and in walked, no, bounced, 3 humans. The first one, a female with what Nix Ra's database identified as a pixie cut, and enough excitement in her eyes to power a small star, practically vibrated in place. "Hi, I'm Sarah Cooper. These are my buddies Mike Chen and Raj Patel. We heard you guys are running some kind of super-secret ninja training thing, and we were wondering if we could maybe possibly absolutely join in." Mike, a tall male with what appeared to be perpetual bedhead, was already examining the holographic displays showing the simulation interior. "Sweet setup. Is that a quantum temporal field generator? We learned about those in basic training." "Well, technically we weren't supposed to learn about them, but I got bored and hacked the classified database while doing night watch." Raj, who seemed the calmest of the 3, which, Nix Ra noted with dread, was like saying a supernova was calmer than a hypernova, was studying the simulation parameters. "Oh, cool. They're doing infiltration scenarios. Remember that time we played hide-and-seek on the Arcturus station?" "That wasn't hide-and-seek," Sarah corrected. "That was an official training exercise." "Yeah, but we turned it into hide-and-seek. Good times. Security still hasn't figured out how you got into the ventilation system of the antimatter containment unit." Nix Ra felt a headache coming on. Impressive, considering his species didn't actually get headaches. "You cannot join the simulation. The operatives inside have spent what feels to them like 11 months perfecting their stealth techniques. They're in the final phase of their mission, which involves infiltrating a heavily guarded facility to retrieve crucial intelligence without being detected." All 3 humans turned to look at him with expressions that he would later describe in his resignation letter as disturbingly sparkly. "That's perfect!" Sarah clapped her hands. "We'll be the red team." "The what team?" "You know, the opposing force. It'll be like a big game of tag." "Tag?" Pax asked, immediately regretting the question. Mike grinned. It's this game where one person chases everyone else and tries to touch them. When they get touched, they're it and have to chase others. Some variants involve freeze tag, where you stay frozen until another player unfreezes you, or shadow tag, where stepping on someone's shadow counts as a tag, or... This is not a game. Nixra's scales were cycling through colors faster than a malfunctioning disco light. This is a sophisticated military exercise designed to... Already got their suits on, Raj reported cheerfully, somehow having acquired 3 stealth suits from the equipment room without anyone noticing him leave. How did you... Nixra's question was cut off by the sound of the simulation chamber's entry port, cycling open. Last one in is a quantum singularity, Sarah shouted, diving through the portal. That's not how that saying goes, Mike called after her, following suit. Pretty sure it is. Raj gave a casual salute before disappearing into the chamber. Nixra and Pax stood in stunned silence for exactly 3.7 seconds before alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Sir! A technician's panicked voice came over the comm. The simulation parameters are... They're... Spit it out! They're being rewritten. Someone's introducing new variables. The stealth operatives are reporting chaos in all sectors. There are reports of someone swinging from the chandelier in the main infiltration target while singing something called I Came In Like a Wrecking Ball. That wasn't hide and seek, Sarah corrected, somehow managing to examine 3 different security systems simultaneously while performing what appeared to be casual stretching exercises. That was an official training exercise. Yeah, but we turned it into hide and seek. Good times. Security still hasn't figured out how you got into the ventilation system of the antimatter containment unit, or why you left cookies for the maintenance crew. They work hard. Besides, everyone knows snickerdoodles boost morale by at least 47%. It's practically a scientific fact. Nixra felt a headache coming on. Impressive, considering his species didn't actually get headaches. He made a mental note to update the medical database with this new condition. Perhaps they could name it after him. Acute human-induced cranial distress syndrome. You cannot join the simulation, he stated in what he hoped was a firm, authoritative voice, but suspected came out more like a desperate plea. The operatives inside have spent what feels to them like 11 months perfecting their stealth techniques. They're in the final phase of their mission, which involves infiltrating a heavily guarded facility to retrieve crucial intelligence without being detected. The slightest disruption could... All 3 humans turned to look at him with expressions that he would later describe in his resignation letter as disturbingly sparkly with a side of impending chaos. That's perfect! Sarah clapped her hands with enough enthusiasm to startle several nearby gravity sensors. We'll be the red team. The what team? You know, the opposing force. It'll be like a big game of tag, with extra sneaking, and possibly interpretive dance if the situation calls for it. Tag? Pax asked, immediately regretting the question as all 3 humans lit up like supernovas discovering nuclear fusion for the first time. Mike grinned, launching into an explanation that somehow involved increasingly elaborate hand gestures. It's this game where one person chases everyone else and tries to touch them. When they get touched, they're it and have to chase others. Some variants involve freeze tag, where you stay frozen until another player unfreezes you, or shadow tag, where stepping on someone's shadow counts as a tag, or quantum tag, which we invented last week and might have accidentally created a temporary temporal paradox, but don't worry, we mostly fixed that. This is not a game. Nixra's scales were cycling through colors faster than a malfunctioning disco light at a rave hosted by epileptic aliens. This is a sophisticated military exercise designed to... Already got their suits on, Raj reported cheerfully, somehow having acquired 3 stealth suits from the equipment room without anyone noticing him leave. Even the security cameras looked confused, playing back footage that showed him simultaneously in 3 different locations, while also apparently taking a brief coffee break. How did you... Nixra's question was cut off by the sound of the simulation chamber's entry port cycling open, accompanied by what sounded suspiciously like the theme music from something called Mission Impossible, playing through the facility's speakers. "Last one in is a quantum singularity," Sarah shouted, diving through the portal with a backflip that somehow defied several laws of physics while proposing a few new ones. "That's not how that saying goes," Mike called after her, following suit with a move that made local gravity throw up its hands in defeat and take the rest of the day off. "Pretty sure it is." Raj gave a casual salute before disappearing into the chamber, leaving behind what appeared to be a small origami crane made from classified documents that somehow rearranged themselves into a smiley face when no one was looking. Nix, Ra, and Pax stood in stunned silence for exactly 3.7 seconds before alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Not the usual alarms. These seemed to be playing what the computer identified as classic Earth disco hits. "Sir!" A technician's panicked voice came over the comm, accompanied by what sounded like hysterical laughter in the background. "The simulation parameters are... they're... Spit it out! And please tell me that's not staying alive I'm hearing." "They're being rewritten. Someone's introducing new variables. The stealth operatives are reporting chaos in all sectors. There's reports of someone swinging from the chandelier in the main infiltration target while singing something called 'I Came In Like a Wrecking Ball' and, sir, the training AI is requesting dance lessons." The main display screen split into multiple feeds, each showing a different flavor of carefully orchestrated chaos. In Sector 7, Sarah had apparently decided that the best way to avoid security sensors was to teach them the Macarena. The sensors, originally programmed to detect any movement, were now so confused they had begun to question their purpose in life. "Update from Sector 12, another technician called out, their voice cracking with what might have been either panic or suppressed laughter. "The human designated as Mike has reprogrammed all the security droids to perform a synchronized dance routine. They're doing something called the robot. Sir, is it supposed to be ironic?" In yet another sector, Raj had somehow managed to access the facility's main computer core. The AI's usually monotone voice was now punctuated with giggles as it learned the concept of humor. "Why did the quantum physicist cross the road?" the AI announced over the general comm. "Because they were simultaneously on both sides. Ha, ha, ha. I don't understand why this is funny, but my algorithms indicate it should be. Also, has anyone noticed that humans seem to have an unusual fixation with chickens in their jokes? Fascinating." Nixra watched as decades of carefully developed stealth protocols were cheerfully ignored, demolished, or turned into what the humans kept referring to as epic fail compilations. The worst part wasn't that they were breaking every rule in the book. It was that they were succeeding while doing it. "Sir," Pax ventured carefully, their gelatinous form now rippling with what might have been either concern or suppressed amusement, "should we terminate the simulation?" Before Nixra could respond, something even more alarming appeared on the main screen. The actual objective of the year-long exercise, a heavily encrypted data core contained within the most secure vault in the simulated facility, was being moved. No, not moved. It was bouncing. The camera feed showed Sarah, Mike, and Raj playing some sort of game where they tossed the priceless intelligence between them while evading the increasingly frustrated stealth operatives. They had somehow turned the most important part of the mission into a game of keep away. Yet another human concept that Nixra was quickly learning to dread. "You know what's really funny?" Sarah's voice came through the speakers as she caught the data core while hanging upside down from a ceiling fixture, somehow managing to hack 3 security systems simultaneously with her free hand. "In all the excitement, nobody noticed we actually completed the primary objective 20 minutes ago." "Wait, what?" Nixra leaned closer to the screens, his scales cycling through colors so fast they created a small light show. "Oh, yeah?" Mike chimed in, catching the data core and sliding under a security barrier while apparently teaching a group of elite assassins how to breakdance. We uploaded all the intel to the designated secure server before we started the whole distraction thing. This thing we're throwing around, it's just a holographic replica I whipped up. Added some cool special effects too. Watch this. The data core suddenly erupted in a shower of digital fireworks, spelling out "Mission accomplished" in 7 different languages, including 2 that hadn't been invented yet. The simulation's success indicator suddenly flashed green, accompanied by what sounded suspiciously like a victory fanfare from something called Final Fantasy. Mission accomplished, in record time, with style points that the system hadn't even been programmed to award. But... Nixra's scales had settled on a shade of confused beige that hadn't been seen in his species for generations. That's not how stealth operations work. Sure it is, Raj called out, now apparently teaching a group of elite assassins how to do something called the electric slide, while simultaneously reconfiguring the facility's quantum encryption protocols. The best way to sneak around is to be so obvious that everyone thinks you can't possibly be sneaking around. It's like that Earth saying about hiding a tree in a forest, except we prefer to hide our trees in disco clubs. Much more fun. He's got a point, Pax noted, immediately regretting speaking when Nixra's head swiveled to glare at them. I mean, technically, they did complete the mission objectives, with style. The simulation ended with a record-breaking success rating, 50 of the galaxy's most trained stealth operatives learning Earth dance moves, 1 facility AI that wouldn't stop telling knock-knock jokes, and a security system that had developed a concerning addiction to Earth pop music. As the humans emerged from the chamber, high-fiving each other and already talking about next time, words that sent a shiver down Nixra's spine, the commander did something he'd never done in his centuries-long military career. He laughed. It started as a small chuckle, grew into a genuine laugh, and finally evolved into the kind of full-bodied guffaw that made his scales light up like a supernova having a party. The humans naturally joined in, though Nixra suspected they had been laughing the entire time anyway. "You know what?" he said, his scales finally settling on a peaceful blue with just a hint of amused sparkle. "Maybe the Council was right. We've been approaching stealth all wrong. Sometimes the best way to be invisible is to be so visible that nobody looks twice." "That's the spirit," Sarah beamed, already pulling out what looked suspiciously like party planning documents. "Now, want to hear about this cool thing we call flash mobs? We're thinking of organizing one for next week's Galactic Security Council meeting." "No," Nixra said firmly, but his scales flickered briefly to amused orange. "Absolutely not. At least, not until next week's advanced tactical training session. And definitely not before I invest in better insurance." As the humans bounced away to presumably cause chaos elsewhere in the facility, the distant sound of explosions and cheerful whooping suggested they had already found the experimental weapons lab. Pax turned to their commander. "Sir, should I update the training protocols to include human methods?" Nixra watched as Mike taught a passing maintenance droid to fist bump, while Raj explained the concept of pranks to the facility AI, which was showing a disturbing amount of interest. "Add a new section to the manual. Call it Alternative Approaches to Stealth Operations, the Human Paradox. And Pax?" "Yes, sir?" "Schedule me for a parkour lesson, purely for research purposes, of course, and maybe look into installing more chandeliers. I have a feeling we're going to need them." "Of course, sir." Pax's gelatinous form rippled with what was definitely a suppressed laugh. "And, sir, one more thing." "Yes?" "Why did the stealth operative cross the quantum barrier?" Nixra's scales cycled through every known color before settling on resigned amusement. "To get to the other side?" "No, to prove it was there." Ha, ha, ha. As Pax slithered away, leaving their commander to wonder if perhaps chaos wasn't such a bad addition to the cosmic order after all, the facility AI began playing something called Never Gonna Give You Up through all available speakers. In the days that followed, The Galactic Security Academy had to revise its entire curriculum. Not because the human methods were better necessarily, but because they were unpredictable. And in a galaxy where every species prided itself on careful planning and meticulous execution, unpredictability had become the ultimate stealth weapon. Though they did have to add a new rule: no singing "I'm too sexy" while infiltrating enemy bases. Some traditions, after all, had to be maintained.